All right, so last week we went over the Fourth Amendment and reasonable suspicion through the court case Terry versus Ohio and probable cause. Now we're going to kind of apply that with some questions because this is what law enforcement officers have to continually do. And sometimes they have time to research and sometimes they don't. But it's always important that the law enforcement officer stays up to date on the current court cases. So let's see how you do. Keep tally. I won't keep tally, but at least you'll know how you did and how difficult it can be sometimes. All right, so if a police set up a hidden video camera in a public restroom in an effort to capture proof of lewd acts where the stalls in the restroom were doorless, so they had no doors, would the police be violating the Fourth Amendment of other citizens? So what do you think, yes or no? Put your vote down here. Let's see if you're right. No. Citing Katz, the Nevada Supreme Court said that although persons using the stalls would expect some right to exclusive occupancy, it would also be true that they risked observation. So if someone walked in, they could see them. So nobody has a reasonable expectation of privacy where there are no doors. So therefore, there's no legitimate expectation of privacy. Now, again, let's say you have a women's restroom where there are doors on all the stalls. Obviously, it would not be legal to put cameras because somebody expects an expectation of privacy where there is a door. All right, Jimmy is pulled over in his car and consents to a search of his person. That means a police officer says, "Can I search you?" Jimmy says yes. So just so you know, officers can get consent, and that waives the Fourth Amendment right. So somebody can't say, yes, the officer could search me. I told the officer that the officer could search me, but the officer didn't even have reasonable suspicion. You can't say that later because if a person gives the officer consent, that overrides what's needed by the Fourth Amendment. However, that person can take away that consent at any time. Okay, so let's go back. So Jimmy consents to a search of his person. During the search, the police find drug paraphernalia. So that may be a pipe used to smoke methamphetamine. The police then want to search the purse of the passenger in Jimmy's vehicle. Can they? Yes or no? Okay, what do you think? Make your choice. And here we go. Yes, in the case of Wyoming v. Hutton, the court held that after finding drug paraphernalia on the driver, police could search the car for drugs, including the handbag of a female passenger, because passengers have a reduced expectation of privacy with property they transport in cars. All right, here we go. In the same car, so we're still with Jimmy. Jimmy's passenger, Janie, has a purse. Now we know that the police can legally search her purse. The police search her purse and find nothing illegal. Now they want to search her person. Can the police search Janie? Yes or no? No. A search of a passenger's person is improper because the person herself has a heightened expectation of privacy. The U.S. Supreme Court said, quote, to determine whether police action violates the Fourth Amendment, the court looks first to see if the action was an illegal search or seizure under common law when the Fourth Amendment was framed. Otherwise, the court evaluates search and seizure under a standard of reasonableness by assessing the degree of intrusion on privacy against the degree needed to protect legitimate government interests. An example of this rule is found in the case of U.S. v. Carroll. Okay, true or false? Seizures of persons need justification, but generally don't need a search warrant, even if there is time to get a warrant. There are two main exceptions when an arrest or search warrant is required in an arrest situation. So true or false? True. So seizures of persons, that means an officer can arrest somebody if they don't have a warrant. There are two main exceptions when an arrest warrant is required in an arrest situation. Okay, another one, true or false? Searches into places without a warrant are presumed to be lawful, and police need to be prepared to testify in court and demonstrate with legal argument by the district attorney that an exception applies. False. Searches into places without a warrant are presumed to be lawful. It should be are presumed to be unlawful. That's where our Fourth Amendment comes from. The police just can't come and search your place unless they have a warrant. And the police need to be prepared to testify in court and demonstrate with a legal argument by the DA that an exception applies. That means if somebody was shooting a neighborhood and the police were chasing the person with the gun and the person ran into the house, that's an exception. That's an exigent exception because the police don't have to wait to get a warrant to go into the house because they are chasing somebody who's shooting at people. All right, so police were investigating a robbery and developed Hill as a suspect. They went to Hill's apartment and a man who fit Hill's description answered the door and admitted the police. The man said he was Miller, not Hill. But the police arrested him anyway, and a search incident to arrest disclosed evidence that was used to convict Hill at trial. It turned out that the man in Hill's place was really Miller. So will the arrest and evidence be thrown out? Yes or no? No, the arrest is good. SCOTUS says that good faith alone would not have justified the police action under the facts of the case. The police made a mistake, and that was objectively reasonable. So if it's reasonable and the officers are acting in good faith, both of those are needed, then the arrest is still good. Okay, police see a car drive by and they follow the car. They run the car and find out that the driver has a warrant. They pull over the car and arrest the driver, John. A search of the car finds cocaine. John is arrested for the drugs. At the jail, they find out that the warrant had been paid, just not entered in the system yet. Question, will the arrest be thrown out because the officers thought John had a warrant and he really did not? So will the cocaine be thrown out? No. Again, it's called the good faith doctrine. The officers checked the system, and at the time, they thought John had a warrant, so they were responding accordingly. All right, we're going to do one more. Police are looking for Rodriguez. They think he is dealing drugs. They go to his apartment. They know that he has two roommates, John and Jill. A girl answers the door. They ask if Rodriguez is home. The girl says he is not home and she is the new roommate. They ask her permission to search the apartment. She gives them permission inside the apartment. The police search the apartment and find meth in the kitchen. Police find and arrest Rodriguez for drug possession. Later, the police find out that the girl who gave them permission to search the apartment really did not live there, so she had no standing to give them permission. So question, will the meth be thrown out since the female who gave the police permission to search the apartment had no standing? Yes or no? No. As long as the police make a reasonable effort to find out who has standing to give permission, the meth will not be thrown out. All right, so hopefully you get a good idea as far as some of the issues that law enforcement have to face daily in making a determination on whether or not their actions fall lawfully under the Fourth Amendment. See you for the next video.